This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
We need a lot of people focused on this work, and we cannot give up on the hope of being transformed by an education. And there are multiple pathways to being educated, but we need an educated populace to have a democracy, to be civically engaged as a nation, and to continue to be a leader in the world.
Well, I got to tell you, folks, I made a choice somehow over 20 years ago to move to California. And I think it was a good choice. I think this was a good choice. But I also don't feel great. Like, literally, I don't feel great today. And so I'm getting over a cold, but I was not going to cancel on my guest who also chose California. Granted,
Yes.
she's in Oakland, but we met 3,000 miles away from here back in New York.
Yes.
And when I met you, you were like the badass, like, so you were kind of the principal. You were the principal. I mean, that's not what you were called, but you were the principal. You were the principal of a Division III college that I happened to go to.
Yeah, hopefully a cool principal, but yeah.
Yeah, well, can I say not only were you cool, but I think you're cooler now. I really do. And that's not to knock how cool you were before. I just think you're way cooler now. I do. Do you feel cooler?
I feel clearer. I feel like I've grown up more as a leader. But yeah, look, I mean, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, we're cool people. And Oakland is another very cool place. So yeah, no, I feel honored to have met you, and I feel like we both, as we've stayed in touch throughout these years, so much has happened in the last 5 years, and now going into my sixth year, leading college track nationally. So yes, I'm grateful to Ithaca, to you, to so many things on this leadership journey.
Well, should I call you Dr. Collado? Do I talk to Shirley? What would you like me to
Shirley's
call you?
fine. My
right,
parents
cool.
will love Dr. Collado, President Collado, but Shirley between us is completely
All
fine.
right. Well, I figured you'd be okay with that intro. Again, I am getting over a cold, so I went totally California today. I got the Padres cap on. I'm glad you're not in LA. You probably would be rocking well, I don't even want to get into baseball in Oakland. It makes me sad too. I'm just letting you know that makes me sad. But
Thank you.
let's talk about this incredible experiment you're living, right? And it's been, I mean, again, it's the sadness, folks, is that Shirley and I had not been together live in probably, you think it was 6 years, 5 years?
Yeah, a little over 5, probably.
I mean, we've seen each other through virtual many times, but we hadn't been together live. And I mean, you take this new opportunity and you decide to like go run college track, and it's an amazing story. And the people behind it are amazing. And I don't know if you want to talk about that whole thing or not, but what I will say is you kind of get a shot to steer it the way you feel it should be steered. And again, another reason I don't feel bad wearing like a rocker hat like this is because you're hanging out with the Currys and the Durants and like the NFL people, and like they like, I'm just trying to fit in. That's all I'm trying to do. Like,
That is funny.
how on earth
Yeah.
did you go from college track? Like, you're in meetings with Currys, and how did that happen? And the Durants?
Well, look, I'm leading a national organization that has always decided to do hard work and lift up big dreams. And I came into this organization when it was just turning 25. We're going to be 30 years old. Um, and it's pretty remarkable to have had the arc of a career that I've had in public and private higher education, and running and scaling and growing the Posse Foundation, and now being able to lead what essentially is, like, Ryan, a movement to not only democratize potential and opportunity, but college completion, living a purposeful life, doing the thing, and being able to do that for first-generation college students for 10 years. We dedicate 10 years to young people and their families in neighborhoods and communities, 13 of them nationally. And the 13th one, thank you to the Baltimore Ravens and M&T Bank. It's all of these people who've created these educational ecosystems, if you will, in communities that are constantly overlooked and underestimated, constantly put in boxes that they don't belong in. And as you and I talked over dinner, talented people exist everywhere. And if you shine a bright light on them and you give them the right set of conditions to thrive, you'll see that excellence can be anywhere. And so, yes, we have a few team players, teams and individual professionals. We have artists, we have entrepreneurs, we have scientists. And yes, we do have NBA players and NFL teams that believe in this too, because we're deciding together to invest in the communities that we're of and from. And I grew up in a community like that was constantly overlooked and underestimated. No one would have ever determined that I somehow would be able to sit with you today and have this conversation. Everything around me, right? People thought, no, like this isn't going to happen. And I had other plans and people believed in me, and I was at the right place at the right time. So doing this intentional work right now in America, as you and I think about like the rapid changes in workforce and what's happening, I get up every day and I'm trying to move the needle for children that, really deserve the absolute best and are often swimming in waters that are stacked against them.
Walk me through a very layman way to like start with someone that's off the track
Yeah.
and get them on the track. Just keep it real simple.
Let's say, I'm a young person in Crenshaw in LA, or I'm in Southeast DC, or I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, in Charm City, and I'm going to a local public school. And based on my zip code and what I was born into, I may not have, right, all the bells and whistles that families with a legacy of education and resources may have. But I have tenacity, and I'm smart and curious, and I'm driven. And I believe that maybe getting a college degree could propel me to have a meaningful life, to have livelihood, to be able to have a living wage, right? To create things and do things. And so what we do in our 13 communities is we identify young people who have all those things, but we don't judge them based on their academic profile, the quality of their high school, what their SAT score is. We're really looking for the trailblazers, the ones that will be the first. And with their families, provide a lot of support in 9th through 12th grade. And then if that person is fortunate enough, like most Americans are not in this country, to pursue a college degree at an Ithaca, right, or Vanderbilt where I went, we know that that's only halfway down the journey. So we stay with them through our College Thrive program, and that person gets tons of support and goes into career and life. So that decade, what we call the 10-year promise, is what we do. So you might be a student who comes into the program that might be below where you should be in math, and that's not your fault. It might be you don't have a math teacher. You might be in a school where you don't have AP, you don't have dual enrollment, you don't have technology, you might not have a quiet place to study. You're probably working a job. You might be a scholar athlete. You might be raising your siblings the way that I did while your parents are working around the clock. That's true of a kid in urban America, and it's true of a kid in rural America who's getting up at the crack of dawn to take care of a farm and taking care of siblings and getting to school miles and miles away. And often that school doesn't have the resources it needs to work for that young person who could actually be one of the few people that, in the future, right, are getting jobs at places that you and I have been privileged to work in. So it's all that, and we can't do that by ourselves. So we look for partners that help us get that done.
Are the partners, is that where the support comes in? Is that where is it a sponsor? Is that where cash comes in? Like I've got too many questions for this. So this one, I also am very curious when you think about someone's support system, do you have a criteria on how to decide? Because in some of those areas, I can only think of Baltimore, right? And growing up as a snobby Potomac, Maryland kid, my parents were like, "Be careful in Baltimore." And I had a very different upbringing. I had two parents. I had the freedom to kind of go around my neighborhood and never feel threatened. There wasn't a gang that I knew of in my neighborhood. Like what does support look like in some of the communities? Are you is there an actual scorecard that you look at as you think about kids who come into the program?
Yeah. So I'll go back and kind of challenge a little bit of the assumption in what you're saying.
I'm so naive, Shirley.
Because
I'm
this
very
is
naive.
part of the underestimated and the boxes.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, people assume, like I grew up in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, and people assumed that where I grew up, I would be labeled at risk, low income, unlikely, that I probably didn't have mentors, that nobody was looking out for me, that my family and the people around me had nothing, right? That I'm not around educated people. Yet I grew up in abundance. I grew up in a community that was invested in me, that believed in me. I grew up with parents who did not have the level of education, right, to help me navigate college, but they believed in the American dream. They believed that education could transform their children's lives, right? And on top of all the shifts and the work and the taxi cab driving and the factory work, they were showing up for all the meetings and doing all the things that they could do to fight for their kids. So I say that to you because in Charm City, and it truly is Charm City in Baltimore, there are many people who know the gems and the curiosity and the amazing things that are present for young people in that environment. So it's just that the systems are not working in the right direction, right? So there's no lack of um, ability to think about this dream, but what gets in place are real issues related to um, under-resourced schools, to to class issues in America, race issues in America, disproportionate um, uh, reallocations of resources. And so what does support look like for any first generation college student, regardless of race, regardless of geography, right? If you get to go to college, the four major drivers to your success, it definitely, if you're the trailblazer in your first, is can you financially afford it? Are you academically prepared for the experience? Third is there a sense of belonging? Do I see my people there? Can I imagine myself when I go to the dining hall, when I in the dormitory, when I'm, in a class, does this feel like my place? Right? And that's very visceral. That's if you don't go on college tours, if you don't have close proximity to it, you don't get to understand what that feels like, right? You don't have family members that could just make a call or take you in a car ride or on a plane trip to that place. You don't get to understand what that might feel like. And then the fourth is really having a cohort and mentors that are wraparound. And you're wearing your baseball cap, but when you get to go to college and you're on a team, you automatically have your people. You got your coach. If you're lucky enough to have a good resident advisor or great faculty member in a freshman seminar, that automatically becomes that mentor in a class that's meaningful to you. If you've never had that before and you don't even know how to use office hours, all of a sudden it starts kind of feeling doable. But if you're not prepared, you don't feel like you have your people there, you don't financially, you can't even be in the space, and you don't have that cohort of mentor, then it doesn't happen. So for us, we socially engineer that support, not the first year of college, the first year of high school. So we actually start doing that from ninth grade all the way through. And when Ryan Berman gets to go to Ithaca College, he doesn't go by himself. We don't just go and give you a scholarship. No, you're going and you have a College Thrive program and make sure you're connected. You at that point know how to navigate that system. And if you're someone who doesn't have that in your family and have never done it before, it can be larger than life, especially if you have a bill you can't pay or you entered high school at 3 grades below where you're supposed to be, and it's actually not your fault that that's where you are. So we are doing a lot of work on that journey to make sure that we're making up for a number of things. And we're not asking, this is not a hand-me-down, Ryan. Like, this is not a, hey, no, these kids are showing up. They have hustle. They are driven. They're doing the work on top of work. So imagine in high school, you put in Potomac, right, Maryland? You put in your hours at school. You're doing all the things. Maybe you have a part-time job. Maybe you're a star athlete. And on top of that, College Track is saying, now you got to come to our center. You got to show up and do more work and be responsible for this community and yourself. And we're asking your family to do it too. So by the time they get to college, boy, they've done this tenfold.
Yeah, they got the work ethic. The work ethic is there. Well,
Completely.
you painted a great picture of what the track looks like. Give me a little bit on the support once I'm there. You said I'm part of this Thrive Network. Is it someone else at the school? Is it a virtual? Is it a combination of the two?
Yeah, so it's a combination of the two, but a lot in person. So when you go to college, it could be at USC, it could be at Middlebury, Trinity College. We have these amazing college and university partners, and our students attend, we call them scholars. Our scholars attend close to 300 colleges and universities. And we have a cohort of schools that actually really have put some skin in the game and supporting our program in big ways. But when a student goes off to college, they have actually an individual College Thrive coach. And that College Thrive coach, which is part of our team here at College Track, is regionally based, is an expert in your school, will visit you, will check in with you virtually, will have community gatherings with other College Track scholars on your campus. And that person they're not there to replace what the college and university should do, right? There are resources in place on that campus, and College Track scholars go really knowing and understanding how to navigate those spaces. That coach is really helping to make sure that life doesn't get in the way, to make sure that you're on track, that you have a familiar face to lean on in addition to all of the people on campus that work with us. And they really understand the life of a first-generation college student, especially if they're a student with high need, a student who's working a job and going to school. So ideally, that person is kind of looking out for you the whole time. And they know your institution very well, which is an added benefit. They're almost like an extension of what the school is and what those teams are, if that makes sense. And I'll give you an example that a lot of people don't think about. First-generation college students, all of them, again, regardless of race and geography, if they're first in their family and they come from under-resourced communities, the likelihood of a first gen from that kind of background to complete a bachelor's degree in America is typically less than, 30% maybe of individuals who go in, actually finish, right? And that's over things that should make our stomachs turn. Getting a bill for $800 and being told by the registrar's office, you can't enroll for classes because you owe us money. And a first-gen student may not know, if they don't have, someone coaching them and they don't understand the system, they might not even ask. They might not even go to a financial aid office and say, hey, I can pay this bill, but can I do it in installments? Or is there a way that I could get help with this? I don't have money. Or, hey, I'm working my job. Could I pay this a little later? They don't even think. And if you're the child of an immigrant, if you're someone who wasn't born in this country, if English is not your first language, So think about the atrocity of someone who's bright and amazing deciding, oh, I guess this isn't for me. I'm going to go back home.
Wow.
When if there was just an intervention, right? Or here's how you use office hours. Here's where you should sit in a classroom. Here's how you engage with all these resources that are here when you're finally here. And we make sure that those things, large and small, don't get in the way of completing the degree. And that part of like living your life and working is knowing how to communicate effectively and advocate for yourself, but remaining humble and respectful. And those are attributes that all of our scholars have.
You have lived inside and like run an institution, multiple institutions. Now you're kind of like getting to sort of see a bird's eye view of it all. I mean, it feels like college as we once knew it, they were everywhere, and now the middle seems to be going away. Like the price seems to be going up, or I don't know. It just feels like the middle is just like disappearing right now, or people are being told college isn't worth it. Go get like a trade job. I've heard this. It's not, what's like when you hear this language. First of all, am I right? Is the middle going away? I have no data to back this up. Like, is it going away?
Well, I mean, I think you and I are in a moment in 2026 where the very thing that I believe has made America so distinct and amazing, American higher education, is being, it's definitely scrutinized. And I actually think for some valid reasons, but unfortunately is being weaponized and kind of put in these polar pockets of society in a way that doesn't make sense. So I think you are right that there's not a middle and kind of gray area that seems fertile right now and robust for us to have a real conversation about the value of an educated populace, right? So it's like we're having this kind of almost bipolar conversation of this extreme haves, these individuals that are right really privileged that can go and have that amazing residential going away to college experience. And then you have these folks over here who are very disappointed in the way that we have communicated the value of the power of being educated in this country, right? And I am worried, Ryan, you and I talked about this, that it's almost like when we talk about trades and other paths outside of going to college, we're actually talking about, I get worried about who are we talking about in America? When we say, yes, we absolutely we need plumbers, we need electricians, we need radiologists, we need people who can get certificates and be trained up. Or when they re-enter society as civilians, after they've served our country in the military, or someone who is coming back from, having served time in prison. Like these different experiences where we want we want an educated populace. And I think those trades are incredibly valuable and important in tech and the health sciences and all these growing fields. And I want those individuals to have the opportunity to dabble in creativity, to be liberally educated. And yes, be makers, be entrepreneurs, be able to do the things. But what I get worried about are individuals who say, well, college isn't for everyone. And I ask them, so what are you telling your child? What experience do you want for your kid? Do you really believe that for your child? And the data doesn't lie. The most powerful lever for economic and social mobility for first-gen low-income students still remains the completion of a bachelor's degree. And I should say, the completion of a bachelor's degree when you're not weighed down by debt, right? That you actually can graduate with the degree and go into work and not be, when you don't have a legacy of wealth in your family. That's a really important thing. So I'm worried about the extreme versions of this conversation, because I actually think regional public institutions that are serving the vast majority of working class and middle class people right? The growing population of people in this country who are immigrants, children of immigrants, who are working class, middle class folks in rural America, in urban environments, and everywhere in between. That's our future workforce. We should all want our future workforce to be very well educated and to have the attributes that I see in a lot of first gen working class young people, for sure.
It feels like there should be some sort of PSA from like a college union. I don't know, like you probably know best. Like, but you're right. It feels like classic brand and storytelling 101. Like, guess what? If you're not gonna give me the narrative, I'm gonna fill in the blanks on what I think. And so for some, the fill in the blanks are like, oh, is college worth it? Like, you're putting yourself into debt, or like just go get a trade job and you don't even know what you want to do. And at least you get off and running. Or like, I feel like if no one is proactively leading and reminding us of, just like you didn't have enough to do, by the way, over there, right? It's like suddenly there's another obligation. I kind of feel like I buried the lead on this episode. Like, so let's get to it. It is Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, like, are they in your, like, can you just like speed dial them? Are they in your favorites?
You're so funny. You're so funny. Well, look, I will answer that question,
Do you
but
want to call them now? Just call them now. Let's get
I
them both
would
on here.
I would say, I would say this too is, and this is really important because it is serious what you're saying. And
Yeah.
as someone who tells stories and cares very like very deeply about brand identity that's authentic and real, it pains me that we have not told a better story about the value of an American higher education degree
Who's
or
we?
the value of that. We as a sector, my fellow colleagues
I,
at colleges and universities, um,
but who
and
is it? Is there a foundation? Is there an umbrella? This is
that's a
so.
little bit of what the issue is, right? That in so many ways, the sectors of academia have remained separate in their peer group camps in a way that hasn't really brought us all together. And there absolutely are some groups that are amazing, the American Council on Education, the American Association of State Colleges and Universities, the AACNU, like, who really bring us together and have spoken on behalf. But it's so divided that we don't always learn from each other in ways that, like, I'll give you an example. Community colleges, right, are seen as very separate from major research universities, or regional publics are seen as very separate from elite and premier, highly selective liberal arts colleges. And what we need right now is actually a unified story
Yeah.
about the value of what we do. The cost structure is different, and so messy and so complicated for most American families to understand. And we owe it to the public, right, to demonstrate the value. But I feel it's so unfortunate now that that's under a microscope in a way that is not productive or healthy right now. And eventually it'll hurt young people. K-12 is not in conversation with higher ed, right? That we're often not integrated in a way that, think of college track, we're with students across high school, across college, across into work. Those things need to be better integrated. Like, employers should deeply care about what's happening to colleges and the redesigning of high schools. But we're all kind of like doing this thing. And right now the microscope is on higher ed. Okay. And we need to have better conversations. So back to your question about, Kevin Durant or Steph Curry, or the beautiful story of what we've done
All right,
with the
hold on
late
now.
infinity.
Before we
Yeah.
do that, okay, because
Yeah.
just to kind of make a point, and we are segueing a little bit, but for the greater good too. It's funny we were back to Durant and Curry. Like, when I think of the NCAA, I do kind of think of they are the FIFA of, right. They're kind of getting thrown under like an asterisk, but they're at least they're aligned in like the big giant, and it feels like as a academia, there should be the same sort of gravitas and unification of some brand that's talking about don't drop out. Like, not even that. Like, flourish. Go to school and flourish. Feels like a miss.
Yeah, I think I think my colleagues in those institutions care deeply about going to college and people flourishing and thriving, not just surviving, and definitely not going in and dropping out. But we don't have a unified story about that. So if you figure that out,
Well,
you let me know. But I do think that it's a bit of the problem. And yeah, the cost structure, the infrastructure. There are many institutions in this country. If you look at, you know, the state of California and even my home state in New York, SUNY and CUNY, there are many institutions that are still in this country very affordable, that are social mobility engines in this country, um, that do remarkable things, with large, scalable amounts of individuals and students all across the board. We don't shine a bright light on some of the really innovative and amazing things that are happening in higher ed. And we kind of keep talking about the same schools over and over again, and the same schools over and over again that get attention or get highly scrutinized. And so it's just not even like a rich and connected story and conversation. Because when we say higher ed, I mean, you're talking about a very, very diverse ecosystem. And there's some states that you can look at where there's innovation, there's really amazing stuff happening. Yet we keep getting in our own way. And what's happening in our country right now is not helping.
all right, let's talk about KD. Let's talk about the Currys.
Well, so let me be really clear. I cannot speak on behalf of any of our partners, but what I can say is, and I'm going to use Baltimore as an example, and Kevin Durant and Wanda Durant. Kevin Durant grew up in Suitland, Maryland, and basketball transformed his life, and he discovered college track, was incredibly inspired. And he said, I want to bring this to my community. And not only did he bring it to his community and dedicate 10 years of funding with his mother, Wanda Durant, and the Durant Charitable Family Foundation, but our center is walking distance from Suitland High School, where he's all too familiar. And they decided to go in for the long haul, right? And it's a remarkable thing for young people to go to the College Track Durant Center in the community where this larger-than-life person made this possible. And not only that, has a mother who is still very there, very present, very accessible to us in that community. It is amazing. It embodies excellence and paying it forward in ways that are just incredible in Prince George's County, Maryland. The Baltimore Ravens were deeply inspired by that journey, and they decided that they wanted to try doing that as an NFL team in Charm City, a driving distance from Suitland, Maryland. And I mean, Ryan, I got an extraordinary call from the president of the Baltimore Ravens, Sashi Brown, who's become an incredible I would say, fellow freedom fighter, a wonderful human, a wonderful leader. And M&T Bank came in the partnership because of Sashi and the Ravens and the Bishotti Foundation, the Bishotti family. So we got to develop this ecosystem in Baltimore with not only Baltimore City Public Schools, not only our higher ed partners in Maryland and beyond, but with an NFL team and a national bank. I mean, think about that. Like it's two of these worlds coming together. And we decided that we were going to address this issue of K-12, really high school, into college and into work, and post-secondary credentials in the city of Baltimore in a way that would be very unique and impactful. So we're creating and co-designing something. It's not just college track coming to Baltimore. It is really building something together with these two major business partners that are all in I mean, I'm telling you, they are at our center. They are connected. The players and the employees in both places are all in. And these students who go and walk to the Baltimore, or take the bus or get dropped off to the Baltimore Ravens College Track Center, powered by M&T Bank, they're going like head up, you know, chest open wide, super proud. And it's about greatness in a city that has incredible talent. And we're super proud to be there and not far from the Durant Center, a few miles away, and Southeast DC, which were our first East Coast sites. We were founded in East Palo Alto here in California.
I mean, beautiful. And it's I think I'm getting this right. This is a win-win-win-win, right? This is a
Yes.
win-win-win-win. I mean, it's like, bravo to the Durants for going, I want this to be in my community, and the passion it takes. It's not just smart, it's heart at play, which
That's
is
right.
amazing.
That's right.
And then, it kind of upsets me a little bit as a Commanders fan. I know Durant's a Commander fan, but I'm sure he loves the
Well,
Ravens now too. I'm sure he loves
you
the
can
Ravens
call
now
the
too.
Commanders. We have a space in Southeast DC. So
I'm happy to. I'm happy to make that connection. I really will. I have one, I said win 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 win. So, and then I know that the Ravens win because they're just continuing to nurture and foster community. The community itself wins, and then obviously M&T Bank wins. I'm very curious about this, and this chart. Shirley, you know me well enough to go, oh no, not again, Ryan. Like, just turn the brain off. But on top of everything else you're doing, I can't help but think that as a country, and I think this is everybody. Like, I think we're financially illiterate as a country. We do not understand money. Your story earlier about, like, if I'm first gen or I don't speak English and I suddenly have an $800 bill, I'm like, well, I guess I'm not going to school. Like, I could see my version of myself. Like, that's
yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
We the people don't understand money. So is there an opportunity? I don't know if it's already part of the program, powered by M&T, but is there an EDU part of this from them too? Like,
Oh, yes.
are they
Yes.
teaching financial literacy in each market? Is that part of the deal?
Yeah, no, I'm so glad that you raised this. Let me be really clear too that part of the dream for M&T, the Ravens, and College Track, and the city schools, and the higher ed community, and the business community, is they want these students to rise and shine and have internships in high school, have internships in college, be able to come back to their city to contribute to the development of the future of the labor market in Baltimore, right? To really keep talent there. Like, even if you go away to college, they're hoping, like, let's bring it back. Let's bring it to the city. And remember, their families are also involved. We are not only educating a group of folks, but we're also having families become educated consumers of their child's future. Often people who we think, oh, they don't know any better. No, they actually are really invested and they want to learn how to navigate this thing. So financial wellness is something that we've had in our curriculum, just like college readiness, executive functioning skills, leadership development, all kinds of academic prep, as you can imagine. And so M&T Bank gives us the opportunity to bring in these experts from a national bank. Their employees are engaged, and we are venturing in, co-designing with their expertise, a new curriculum focusing on financial wellness. And not one that starts in college, but actually starts in 9th grade of high school. And we also want it to include family members. So we're going to test it out in Baltimore and then scale it across the country. So think about that. And you can look at a team like the Ravens and think, well, how does a young person learn about a career in an NFL business? And so there's incredible opportunity there, and they're learning from people who are right there in their hometown and ways that they can be really proud of. So this has tentacles of all kinds. And what's most powerful for me in our country right now is everyone who's involved. And Kevin and Wanda Durant are thinking this way. Um, it's really about none of us can address this enormous, immoral issue of educational inequity in our country by ourselves. Like this gap is not a college track problem. It's not just that university's problem. Employers need to care. Philanthropy needs to care. Like we're really, really thinking about this locally rooted investment in solving really complicated issues in areas that are disproportionately impacted by the most complicated issues of the day, like poverty, climate, educational gaps, all the things, health disparities, right? They're all present there.
So you're 6 years in, 6.5. Where are we at?
I'm going into year 6.
Are you going into year 6? When did the Ravens murmurings of the Durants and the Ravens and the Banks and how long ago do you think this started? Was
Yeah,
it
I
like
would
3 years in
say
or
about 3 years ago. So really it was just at the tail end of my first year that I got the call from the Ravens. And so really, I should say early on, we did a lot of listening. This was a real careful conversation because one thing that we take pride in, Ryan, which is about leadership and courage, I think, is we have always, and I can't take credit for this, when we were founded in 1997 in East Palo Alto, we knew then it was in the DNA of the beginning of the organization that the answers to what's needed are in the community, and the community knows what they need. And so if you ask them first, rather than come in, which universities often do, right? Like we're the experts and we come down from the hill and do the thing. In our case, we know that we needed to deeply understand who are our partners, what are the needs. Yes, College Track has done some amazing things, and what is specific to Baltimore? What is specific to New Orleans? What is specific to Aurora, Colorado that we need to deeply understand? And we can't come in unless we have trusted and invested partners that are really in this journey with us for the long haul. And there are a lot of communities out there that are used to people coming and trying something that they think is a good idea until it isn't, and then they just go away. And at College Track, the 10-year journey is, we're about to open down on Tulane Avenue and LaSalle Street in New Orleans. We've been in New Orleans for close to 20 years. And with Tulane University, we're about to open our center in downtown Tulane's campus, right across from historic Charity Hospital. And this is in the heart of the city. It's an amazing city. And that partnership's incredible to be able to have that. Tulane's also, right, they're supporting our scholars. They're providing scholarships. So we're on this venture together to address college completion in that community together. And that's the thing that I think is so special about what we do. So the Baltimore thing took time. We had to really listen and get people who were going to really make this program theirs, as opposed to this national nonprofit swooping in and deciding what's good for Baltimore. That isn't going to work. And we've learned a lot the last, almost now 3 decades.
the beautiful mind room is happening in my brain where I'm like connecting though like the brand with the influencer, with the community, with the school. Like there's a playbook. You have a playbook now to take out, and I know you would not take credit for it in any way, shape, or form. The organization has been wildly successful since
Yes.
you've been there, and I'm sure it was successful before. As you think about like the next 6 years, I mean, is this a scalable? Is it overwhelming to think
Yeah,
about?
skeletal model.
Yeah, like is this a discipline game? Is it because obviously I'm sure you want more and more success stories, but to get into a city and like opening it up takes, like you said, it takes time. You have to listen. You have to make sure you have the right partners.
Got to bring the right partners to the table. And, you can't go and blow up a system. You have to say, okay, what does the school system need? How do we partner with them? I mean, in Baltimore, we had an incredible superintendent who believed in this and wasn't resistant to it, thought, this is additive. This adds value. Let's talk about how we could share data. Let's talk about where in the community you should physically be. I mean, it was remarkable, right? And most people would try to paint a picture of, oh, this is a broken system. It doesn't work. And we were like, no, what could we do together? This isn't about being, defensive about our work. But, to just speak very plainly about this, Ryan, like, I wish there wasn't a need for what I'm doing. I wish that we didn't have to worry about going into, I'd love for us to be in rural America, just putting a pitch out there. We want to test our model in places that are not as heavily populated as cities. There are certain cities and neighborhoods where we absolutely could fill a need. The sobering reality is we've been around for almost 3 decades, and we still cannot, as a country, meet the need of young people who don't have all the resources, don't have all the bells and whistles of navigating this system. So I do think we have a replicable and scalable model. It takes investors and investors of all kind, not just funding. It takes saying, we're going to do this for at least a decade together. Do you promise? Do you promise? Can I count on you? Are you staying in the game? Are you with us? It means thinking way outside the box, where you have the business sector and philanthropy and private and public funding and higher ed and K-12, like places and players and sectors that aren't usually in conversation together need to be like, yep, we're going to do this together. And we're not doing this just for 2 years, people. We're doing this for a while. And it means we need to adapt. Like the Ravens and M&T Bank went into this saying, we're going to do this, and we're not doing it in a cookie cutter way. We're co-designing, we're collaborating, we're building together. And College Track went in it saying, we got a model, it's tested, it's proven, and it can adapt, and it should adapt based on the environment that we're in. So my dream would be for us to reach more students, for us to be able to do this in very different geographies, for us to maximize the potential of technology and humans. And I should underscore, we are very place-based. We are very much about, we're not afraid of technology and innovation, and our students cannot be left behind. And we know that these young people, they want to be around people. And they want to be around people who, it's my people in my community, right?
Totally.
Who believe in me. So all of us want that. So that is a really important part that we can't lose. That's very high touch. So the question of being able to scale what we do at a different level than our current cohort size in our current locations is the next level conversation we really want to make happen. And I think Baltimore is a wonderful case study and testing ground for what we're trying to do potentially in new locations.
We have a this just in text question that has reached my phone by the one and only Kim Zioli.
Oh my goodness. This is a surprise.
We all met when I had to present to, I was basically on a unicycle presenting to the board at Ithaca College. She was on the board, but she is now the CEO of Ship It Boston, one of her many businesses. Anyway, she's question,
wonderful.
She's the brilliant Kim Zioli, and she says, Shirley, you've worked with thousands of young people over your career. What do you see in a young person that makes you think this kid has the potential to do something extraordinary even before they see it themselves?
Oh my goodness, that is such a beautiful question. Kim is amazing. And you and I are better people for having known her and worked with her. And she's an Ithaca alum, and I'm a little biased, And by the way, when all this happened, I was not the principal, I was the president. But
You're the
really,
principal. You're the principal.
It is, I think the three of us would see this. We would see this. It is the bright light, the tenacity, the hustle, the eternal optimism, the hunger for learning, like smart, curious. It's the student who wants to be in community. who knows it's not just about them. You know, they are interdependent. They are connected to other people. They know that they can't do things by themselves. Um, and it's the student who is daring a dream even in the face of people telling them and showing them that it cannot be done. And that's not just tenacity. It's like it's this internal kind of like optimism and light in them. And I see that in so many young people. Like no matter where they are in the world, you sit and you talk with them. And you know, this could be a college track scholar. This person could be an Ithaca student. This person could be a Vanderbilt student. I also love that so many first gens are humble. They do extraordinary things, but they stay very rooted in who they are. And I see that as they learn, as they get big jobs, as they, you know, grow up. And it's a sense of like gratitude, just, you know, wonderful. And that, you know, Ryan, I think the other thing is I grew up this way. It was so serious. The stakes were so high. I worked so hard. I felt like there was no room to play, no room to take chances. I couldn't fail. Like my family depended on me. And when you grow up with that enormous responsibility, it's really hard to like find joy and, you know,
Totally.
do other things. And so I love being in front of college track scholars and encouraging them. Take chances. Do the thing that you're afraid of. It's okay if you fail. You're going to get up and try again. Because we don't get those chances when you're worrying about living from paycheck to paycheck, you know? It's just, and the country's not helping because we're putting the fear of God into all these young people.
No
That they're not going to
question.
have jobs, that they're not going to. And so my thing is, it's like, no, like we got to teach actually innovation, to be an entrepreneur, to grow, to create. You got to kind of, with that hustle and curiosity, you have to provide some sense of safety net of trying. And if
Totally.
you're a kid who hasn't had to worry about that, you get to do those things. People take care of you, right? And I feel like every kid in America deserves that. Everybody. And you still all work hard and do the thing. So that's what I would say to Kim. It's like you find that in a kid and then create space for them to dream and try. It's not just about the job.
I got to tell you, we're full circle for me, and I'll let you in a little window of my life and my childhood, because I obviously, coming from Potomac, Maryland, and being able to afford Ithaca College, I was the 3-car garage house family. So I had place to play, and we had sort of two sort of unspoken rules in the house, which was like do better than the last generation, which was going to be one, and then the second was that my brother was branded the smart one, and I was branded as the good with people one, which I equated to then I must not be the smart one because he's the smart one, right? And so, and then nobody was watching us because they were all out working. So like, I felt like, well, if he's the smart one, I'm gonna have to outwork you, which showed up mostly on a soccer field or a basketball court, or I'd just be prepared for that thing. And I had success at that thing. So I was like, oh, if I just keep working, we're good to go. And then I get to Ithaca, and I'm as a television radio major, I'm like, this is amazing. Like I get to make stories and learn how to edit and shoot a camera and dream. And it's like my babysitter growing up was a television. Like I've been studying this my whole life. Like
Exactly.
and so I just always, for coming from such a, there's no poor me in the story really, but like I always take I'm grateful that I felt positioned that way. I'm grateful that there's almost like a little bit of, I truly feel like it's always about, I'm going to outwork you. I'll put in the work and do the work ethic. I will show up that way. But I also want to bring my play. I want to bring my, you're right, like the world is
So
playfulness
important.
playfulness was my number one value when we met. It's shifted to optimism, which I think is a little bit less about me and more about how I choose to look at the world. I think that's all you could ask for. And look, a lot of the people that are listening to the show, this is a show about courage. You could also say it's a show about leadership, how you choose to show up. And the amount of times that I will walk into an organization and you can feel, and that is the right word choice, you can feel when fear is winning. And when fear is winning, everyone is quiet. And when fear is winning, people are not talking. When fear is winning, people are not playing. When fear is winning, people are not trying. They're not experimenting. When you have a leader and fear is like running the company, innovation's losing. The creativity is losing. And I think that is one of the biggest sort of takeaways I even take from the episode is like, as a leader, how are you creating space and condition to put your arm around, metaphorically putting your arm around your organization and saying, play, create some space to experiment. Let's see where this takes us. Hey, first let's listen. First, let's listen to the Baltimore Ravens and the community and to Kevin and Kevin's mom. And then have we considered this? And have we considered that? But I have empathy for you too, Shirley, because that's a hard place to grow up as a kid where you feel like you got about 1,000, where you feel like all the pressure.
Or when you go to college and people are all eyes are on you, and a program depends on you, and representation matters, right? I have had many first in my careers, right, and many first moments where I'm the first one, I'm the only one, right, and so when people look at that, I didn't think I was the first person of color, first woman of color, right, nationally, first Dominican American of a 4-year college or university. And with that comes some weight, also privilege, right? Blessings, gifts. But there is this sense of like, you must do very well. And that, you're representing something beyond just you. And so, but I will say, Ryan, it really has been in these last years that I'm leaning into, my grown-up play, my joy, taking chances. And I'm in an organization where we have redesigned things. We've tried new things. We want to build a space where people can try and innovate, even when resources might be lean, even when there are headwinds externally that we cannot control in the sector of education. So, and with early career folks and mid-career folks, who may not have been in an organization, who may not have had that story, right? And they themselves may be occupying a little bit of that space of, it's super serious. This is super serious work. Look at what we're responsible for. But it's important to me that joy and play and innovation and discovery, the very things that we're asking our young people to try and do, we have to model. And that's not easy to do when the stakes are very high, right? But I really appreciate this space and conversation, and also you sharing a bit about, what it was like to grow up in your house and what you discovered at Ithaca and what you bring into the work that you do.
Well, and again, I think a good place to end. Again, it had been a long time since we had seen each other, and when we were alive, the word I would use to describe you in a very cool curry restaurant, not Steph Curry restaurant, but like Thai curry restaurant, was levity. Like I felt a lightness from you, and this is not to vilify what you were doing before. I just felt like you were in your element. It feels like you're in your element, and that there's joy in what you're building and doing, and so maybe we could end with, is that how you feel? And do you feel like you get to bravely go out and do the thing you're supposed to be doing right now?
Yes, it's a beautiful thing to be in my early 50s and get up and feel like a very integrated leader and human. I'm not checking my ID at the door. I'm fully who I am consistently. And I think I've always been that way, really. But there is a freedom and beauty being able to get up every day and do something that you believe in, where you don't have to compartmentalize who you are. And it's a privilege to do this work. And I am trying to work myself out of a job. I do not want there to be a need for this. And we need a lot of people focused on this work. The need is just too great. And the future of our country depends on all of this, right? And we cannot give up on the hope of being transformed by an education. And there are multiple pathways to being educated. But we need an educated populace to have a democracy, to be, right, civically engaged as a nation, and to continue to be a leader in the world in creating amazing things that make humans' lives better. So to me, it's like, that's what I'm, that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Shirley Collado. I mean, Dr. Shirley Collado, Principal Shirley Collado, President Shirley Collado.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, you're the best. Keep going. Keep doing
You
what you're
too.
doing. I'm excited to, like, however I can play a small little role in this thing. I'm fascinated by the challenge and the opportunity, and keep doing what you're doing. And I gotta say, stay with the levity. Keep it rolling.
Thanks, Ryan. So appreciate you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.